Kerajaan disaran meningkatkan gaji minimum pekerja susulan impak pandemik COVID-19. Kadar kenaikan itu juga diharapkan seiring dengan peningkatan kos sara hidup yang semakin tinggi. Manakala pelbagai bantuan yang disalurkan perlu diselaraskan berdasarkan situasi semasa.
Saranan saya kepada kerajaan perlu menaikkan lagi gaji pekerja setaraf dengan ekonomi sekarang lah, kerana sara hidup sekarang ni tinggi. Jadi bagi pendapat saya, kerajaan kena naikkan lah, walaupun ada bantuan yang kerajaan berikan seperti pemulih, walaupun tapi dianya kurang lah berdasarkan apa yang sepatutnya pekerja dapat. Bagi saya perlu, tapi kena naikkan lagi segi bantuan tu lah daripada segi nilai bantuan tersendiri, sebab berdasarkan bantuan yang diberikan tu kadang-kadang tidak mencukupi dengan gaji yang ada sekarang, sebab macam saya cakap tadi, kos sara hidup yang tinggi lah.
Assalamualaikum to Madam Nur Shamalia. I would like to introduce myself. My name is Fariha binti Haris Batullah. My other group partners are Ikhwan Najmuddin bin Ismail, Muhammad Nazra Ashraf bin Nazri, and Oliver Lani Anak Dominic. For the industrial relations subject ADS 465, we have decided to conduct a research regarding on the implementation of minimum wages in Malaysia. Malaysia's minimum wage policy was firstly introduced in 2012, which RM 900 minimum wage was specified in Peninsular Malaysia and RM 800 for people in Sabah and Sarawak. Currently, the latest rate of minimum wage was announced in January 2020, which is differentiated by locations. RM 1200 for the city council areas and municipal council areas, and RM 1100 for district council areas. They are three objectives of conducting the research. Firstly, to understand the ideas behind implementing minimum wage policy that related with our socio-economic situation, especially during the endemic period. Secondly, to emphasize on refining and analyzing minimum wage process that falls under the government's responsibility as the policymaker. And thirdly, to highlight the role of industrial relations in assisting Malaysia to achieve the high income nation status. For the next slide, it will be presented by my group partner, Mr. Ikhwan Najmuddin.
Thank you, Ms. Fariha, for giving me opportunities to take part in this video presentation. I am Ikhwan Najmuddin, will cover up research content and a few points for the identification of three of the issue. First and foremost, my team has conduct a study which consists of three major parts, which we identify the highlighted issue reported by bernama news title Minimum Wage Review being analysed and refined. Apart from that, we also study the relationship of industrialization concept or principle that connect with related chapters we study in IR subject comprising chapter 1, 3 and 6. Last but not least, we need to complete the study about recommendation to manage the issue which cover three different perspectives, which are socio-economic, human capital and labor productivity. As you can see on this slide, in September 2021, Bernama has published an article about the minimum wage review being analysed and refined. For your information, this article has been published a day after being tabled by the Deputy Minister of Human Resources, Datuk Awang Hashim, during Parliament session. The speech happened after he was answering a question that came from YB Nurul Izzah, a member of Parliament of Pematang Poh, who asked the Minister about the progress to increase the minimum wage by the year of 2020 and the efforts so far done by the government and related agencies. So without further ado, I will explain about the definition of minimum wage first. According to ILO, International Labour Organization, minimum wage are defined as the list of remuneration that the employer is required to pay workers for works performed amid a given period. As we know, the minimum wage policies are quite important to overcome poverty among people and also reduce disparity, especially between men and women. We have highlighted three main issues from the article by Bernama. Firstly, the government's commitment to reviewing national minimum wages is still under progress. Dato' Awang had explained in every 2 years, the minimum wage will periodically conduct survey depending on the current economic situation. This collateral with the government desire to achieve high recognition. As a fact, the current minimum wage rate in Malaysia is 1,200 ringgit per month, and almost this rate is used entirely in Malaysia. Another turning point during the session is Minister of Human Resources has completely organized with 6 different engagement sessions participated by many parties like employee association, trade unions, and non-governmental organization (NGO). Nevertheless, the engagement still cannot be finalized because this idea of the issue gets some objection from the employers, represented by the Malaysia Employers Federation, after they coming out with a statement that employers are concerned about the current economic situation and also afraid to implement the new minimum wage rate because the impact of COVID-19, and also afraid it too risky to ruin economy recovery. The last subject has discussed during the parliament. The speech by the deputy minister is the ministry organized a survey to find out feedback regarding the issue that they are really working hard for it. By visiting the official website of Ministry of Human Resources, the reason why the issue is being analyzed, raised after opposition asked to fasten the process in reviewing the minimum wage. As I mentioned earlier, YB Nur Izzah urged the government to renew the minimum wage rate after she was concerned about the statistic data income from the B40 group are affected, and the number of M40 group transition to the B40 group drastically rose around 580,000 during the pandemic. On the other hand, the Prime Minister of Malaysia, Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri, has stressed relooking back the measurement of the poverty life income, which he estimated will be updated soon in 2022. In modernization, the minimum wage and the rising cost of living should be matched. Plus, the living wage should be adequate for workers' livelihood. According to World Bank, the World Bank has posted the statistic a majority of Malaysia households facing financial issues such as do not have enough savings, and financial pressure are felt by the most working adults. Lastly, the opposition just wants confirmation of the authenticity speech by the minister after MTUC, Malaysia Trade Union Congress, complained does not get enough space to share their opinion regarding the issues. They claim the ministry has manipulated his speech after condemning there is no meeting between them with the government side, as they seriously want more chances to be given in having active involvement. That is all from me. The next slide will be presented by Mr. Nazrul about the impact of the issue and the roles and function of the government in industrial relation.
Thank you, Mr. Ikhwan. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, madam, and hope you are doing well. My name is Muhammad Nazrul Ashraf bin Nazri. So I will continue to present on the implication or the impact of the issue that what our group has been discussed, which is on the implementation of the minimum wage in Malaysia. So from here, we actually can see what is the pro and con side when this minimum wage has been implemented to be increased in our nation as well. So let's take a look on the first point as well. If the minimum wage is set too high or increased too much, this may have unexpected large impact on the labor cost that employee must pay, which means that the company need to pay the extra costs to their employer as well, since the increases of the minimum wage has been decided. So let's move to another point. In economics perspective, this policy could cause the price inflation, affect exports, and reduce the level of employment. Of course, when the minimum wage has been increased, it will affect on the employer side as well. Let's say before this, company A can hire 2 or 3 workers in order to do the task in their company as well. But due to increases of the minimum wage, the company financially cannot stand with the salary to be given for the 2 or 3 workers in their company. So it might reduce the level of employment, which is it also will affect on the productivity of the company as well, since the labor has been reduced as well. So let's move to another point, which is on the microeconomic benefit. So the increment of purchasing power among the household, because they have the strong cash flow in daily expenses. Of course, when the minimum wages has been set in the highest, so the household have the purchasing power in order to spend in their daily life as well. And then when we look at the fourth point from here, if the minimum wages has been increased, it will be stimulates the motivation among the blue collar workers to be more productive during their working hours. So of course, when the money has been increased, it will motivate the workers as well to be work and more productive in their job as well. But when we look on the fifth point of this impact, the issue, it be the wasteful expenditure and failing in the scheme between needs or wants. So let's move to another slide as well, which is on the other relevant issue. So from here we can see that the unemployment rate is dropped from 5.1% in the second quarter of 2020 to 4.8% in the second quarter of 2021, which means this is the good percentage we can see when the government has been implement the increases of the minimum wage in Malaysia. Since the unemployment rate has been dropped, so the nation have been in a good way in order for the nation to reduce the unemployment rate as well. So another point is from here we can see almost 1,574,302,007 job opening in various industries were recorded in my future job, which means this was a good sign that more job will be offered when the government have been decided to increase the minimum wage. and then around 3,020 billion ringgit in less than a year has been announced by vast amount of fiscal stimulus package during pandemic early. So let's take a look another slide, which is we can see on the roles and function of a government in the industrial relation, which is what have been discussed in the chapter 1 on the overview of industrial relation. So from here we can see that the government play a big role as a legislature through the parliament, which means that the government is actually play a main role in order to make sure that this implementation as a good implementation or not. So, and also the ministry is mindful for ability advancement work and work related to security and well-being exchange union, mechanical relation and mechanical court and social security as well. So that's from me, and another slide will continue by my friends as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Nazrul. I am Oliver Lani, anak Dominic. My part is to present about the involving of trade union and its function toward minimum wages. Chapter 3 and the involving of trade union and its function toward minimum wage. Chapter 6 recognition of trade union. Firstly, I want to present about the involving of trade union and its functions towards minimum wages. Chapter 3. Trade union approaches to our world is unique to be studied since it's involved between industrial relation and human factor. As you can see, my first point of presentation is about the establishment of trade union in Malaysia. Trade union was originally based on communism ideology from Karl Marx. In Malaysia, organization functioning as unions had started since 1920. In fact, trade union members are workers who actually had interest in the concepts of protecting their welfare and not focusing on their concept of communism. 4.2 The function of trade union to protect the workers. There are three major reasons to join trade union for workers. Firstly, to improve the economic situation like increasing wage. Secondly, by joining to trade union, they will ensure that their rights are protected from unfair treatment on job security. Thirdly, it is to avoid social exploitation. And the third point is about the policy brought in trade union is in line with Sharia law, which promotes social justice. The existing of trade union also became an attraction because the principle emphasized in the establishment of trade union policy are in line with Sharia law in promoting social justice. Based on Quran, in chapter 42, verse 41, it's mentioned that, and whoever retaliate after having been wronged does have not upon them any cause for blame. In this slide, I will present the involving of trade union and its function towards minimum wages under chapter 6 recognition of trade unions. Based on the newspaper article that reveals minimum wage discourse during question and answer season in Parliament, we believe that is indirectly related with the importance of recognition to trade unions. According to the selected newspaper article, The significance of recognition to a trade union are: trade union is recognized as an organization that represent working class people in carrying out collective bargaining to resolve a claim, and negotiation that occur between trade unions and government is important to resolve dispute peacefully. This can be seen from 6 engagement season that was held between the government and trade union, which mentioned by the MOHR Deputy Minister Dato Awang Hashim. That's all from me. The next slide will be presented by Ms. Fareha. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Olivalani, for the clarification on industrial relations principles in the chapter 3 and chapter 6. Now we're moving on for the next part of recommendation in resolving the issue by addressing on 3 different outlooks: socioeconomics, human capital, and productivity. Previously, my group partner, Mr. Ikhwan Najmuddin, he mentioned that the starting point of raising up minimum wage is due to the high cost of living issue and poverty during endemic period affected by COVID-19 virus. Firstly, we would like to urge the government as a policymaker to be more aggressive and performing immediate action towards the increment of price of goods where it faces fluctuation in an extraordinary margin. In previous November, the store reported that 10% to 50% prices of goods, including vegetable and chicken, in Pasar Datuk Keramat, Kuala Lumpur, definitely will be a huge burden to both sellers and consumers. This condition shows that there is a mismatch between the wages earned and the cost of living in Malaysia, particularly to the B40 group, as this is a serious bread and butter issues which related with human daily necessities. Cooperation between different ministries, especially the Ministry of Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs (KPD and HEP) and the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Industry (MAFI) must be done to resolve the price matter and food and agriculture problems. For example, KPD and HEP must be firm and certain to set up a reasonable floor or ceiling price, and farmers should purchase more fresh produce from farmers and directly sell them to the buyers, as it can decrease the middleman cost. Secondly, for the government must seriously give attention towards developing human capital and at the same time decreasing dependency on foreign workers in this country. Thus, the government should make sure that the amounts of foreign workers are controlled and allocated within specific sector range to be filled by legal foreign workers. And at the same time, the country also faces problem with the influx of illegal foreign workers that causes local people to lose chances, particularly in unskilled and semi-skilled labor markets. So in developing local human capital, the government should take more initiative to promote programs in upgrading human skills, such as the technical and vocational education and training, TVET, which is always to be seen like the second class or the second choice program in placing young generations in educational institutions. According to the Shared Prosperity Vision 2030 policy, at least 60% of SPM leavers are targeted to pursue TVET field in line with the dream of the country to achieve the high income nation status and to be actively involved in the fourth industrial revolution, IR 4.0. And the last but not least, since the government promises to review minimum wage and salary policies periodically, employers are advised to avoid conventional thoughts about negative impacts on the minimum wage increment issue. Though employers will be unhappy as the increments of minimum wages will lead to the increase of cost of labor, there are some applicable methods can be implemented, such as focusing on companies' productivity towards the quality of products through various ways like being more innovative and creative. And to attract consumers, the price of the products must be competitive in the market. Certainly, employees should be more conscious to have a thought that the increments of minimum wage is significant to the employers, because and employees, because it leads to the employees' personal sensitivity, such as creating high motivation effect in working. Employees feel more secured to be in their company and improving employees' work performance that affects company's productivity level. Now we have reached to the last part of our presentation. In conclusion, the implementation of minimum wages is one of the most important topics in industrial relations scope that involves many parties, mainly the governments, employers, employees, and the public. In order to make the implementation of minimum wages create a win-win situation for all, the government is reminded to always check and balance in setting up rational minimum wage and strategically spending money for public expenditure. It is an avoidable situation faced by employers regarding on the increment of minimum wage, as Malaysia is attempting to reach the status of high-income nation, improving economic progress, and at the same time, the government is struggling to provide adequate and decent salary amounts for the public to survive, especially in bearing the cost of living issue. We're going to end our presentation. Thank you so much for watching. And thank you again to Madam Nur Shamalia for being supportive and helpful to guide us in completing our assessment. Have a nice day and Assalamualaikum warahmatullah.